What would you be willing to exchange for $1 million? Many people are pursuing this challenging but doable goal. The individuals on this roster managed to attain this milestone, with some even surpassing the $1 million threshold. However, their circumstances took a turn. Due to various factors, they experienced a complete loss of their fortunes. Whether it was an attempt to settle debts or manipulate the system, their wealth vanished. Well, even if you aren't a millionaire now, one day you may be, so consider the lesson. Broke billionaires. Commonly, individuals tend to believe that a mere salary can propel them into wealth. The notion of continuously earning and spending seems like a formula for prosperity. Nevertheless, we are acutely aware that the path to riches goes way beyond just paychecks. A more profound insight into this can be taken from the experiences of billionaires who spared no expense and ultimately faced bankruptcy. I know you might be wondering, how can someone with billions of dollars end up bankrupt? This outcome can be attributed to a range of factors, including ill-advised investments, extensive fraudulent activities, economic downturns, and more. However, the fundamental issue lies in their lack of backup plans, which led them to persist without foresight. This lack of preparation ultimately led to their downfall. Let's get on with knowing the stories of how these billionaires became bankrupt. Opening our list is Patricia Klug. Patricia Klug appears to demonstrate the sort of lifestyle that the average person might picture for a celebrity. In her earlier years, she worked as a model and went through a few marriages and subsequent divorces. Klug's path crossed with that of her second spouse, John W. Klug, during a visit to New York City. John W. Klug, once valued at $5 billion and recognized as Forbes' wealthiest individual in the U.S., tied the knot with Patricia in 1981. Nearly a decade later, they separated, and Patricia Klug was awarded a substantial settlement of $1 million annually, along with the sprawling Albemarle estate. Albemarle, located in rural Virginia not far from Thomas Jefferson's Monticello estate, became the center of Patricia Klug's financial rise and subsequent fall. To transform her property into a profitable enterprise, Klug, along with her third spouse, William Bill Moses, launched the Klug Estate Winery and Vineyard across 960 acres of land near Albemarle. The estate's wines were popular for a short time, and socialites and famous people from all over the country drank them. Klug's wines even graced Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Nevertheless, following a string of unwise investments and substantial financial input into her estate just before the real estate market crash, Klug saw her fortune dissipate. After Bank of America took control of the Albemarle winery, Donald Trump bought it in 2011 for a tiny fraction of its actual value. Klug tried to avoid going bankrupt by selling her collection of fine jewelry and other signs of wealth at auction. Regrettably, her efforts were in vain, and in June 2011, Klug sought refuge in Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Now, it wouldn't be a list of people involved in misfortune if this next billionaire wasn't on it. I'm talking about Bernie Madoff. He was more of a businessman than a celebrity, but his decision to willingly defraud investors of billions of dollars made him quite infamous. In fact, he's known for leading the largest Ponzi scheme in U.S. history. Before the scandal, he and his wife possessed a personal net worth of more than $800 million. So what happened? Madoff projected an air of reliability, founding Bernie L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC on Wall Street in 1960 and serving as NASDAQ's chairman. The colossal Ponzi scheme began unraveling when investors sought $7 billion in returns. According to Business Insider, Madoff had between $200 million and $300 million remaining. This deception netted Madoff's investors an astounding $65 billion according to CNN Business, although he retained about $20 billion at the scheme's zenith. Bernie Madoff received a 150-year sentence after the Department of Justice tried him on 11 counts of fraud, money laundering, perjury, and theft. Before his imprisonment, Madoff struck a deal with prosecutors, surrendering most of his assets. This arrangement led to the loss of around $80 million worth of mansions, jewelry, cars, and art, while his wife received $2.5 million. Currently imprisoned in Butner, North Carolina, Madoff has requested release due to terminal kidney disease and the COVID-19 pandemic, but prosecutors have yet to agree. Our next victim was once a Silicon Valley star on the rise with a net worth of $5 billion. Elizabeth Holmes. Once upon a time, a young Stanford dropout started a company called Theranos and eventually found herself at the helm of a $9 billion enterprise. Elizabeth Holmes was living a story right out of a movie script, and her path seemed unstoppable. She stood as the globe's youngest self-made female billionaire and was acclaimed as the female Steve Jobs. However, the more attention Theranos garnered, the more questions arose regarding its operational methods and compliance with regulations. In 2012, Elizabeth Holmes endeavored to secure the endorsement of Lieutenant Colonel David Shoemaker for a test operation within the military. This move prompted Lieutenant Colonel Shoemaker to express his reservations to the Food and Drug Administration. Consequently, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services launched an inquiry into the company's affairs, during which they were informed that the device was still under development. Internal tensions escalated within Theranos, and despite obtaining FDA approval for one of its endeavors, media outlets were casting doubt on its legitimacy. By November 2015, Theranos had lost crucial partnerships with Safeway and Walgreens. In 2016, CMS concluded that Theranos' testing procedures could potentially endanger patient safety. The chapter for Theranos concluded in September 2018, narrowly evading the clutches of bankruptcy. Subsequently, Elizabeth Holmes relinquished her control over the company and settled charges brought forth by the SEC by paying a sum of $500,000. Holmes is now in the middle of a trial, the result of which could see her spend up to 20 years in prison. Moral of the story? Don't be a Madoff or a Holmes if you're running a business. Moving on, this next gentleman was once the second richest man in Iceland and a major stakeholder in the Icelandic bank Landsbanki. Björgólfur Gudmundsson, an Icelandic magnate who accumulated his wealth through brewing and also held ownership of the UK football club West Ham, faced a stark turn of fate. The individual, who was once Iceland's second wealthiest person, however, filed for bankruptcy in 2009 as a result of a sizable debt of $759 million. During that period, it marked the most extensive bankruptcy declaration in Iceland's history. Gudmundsson's downfall was largely attributed to the severe decline of the Icelandic economy during the recession. The economic downturn saw both Gudmundsson and his son, Björgólfur Thor Gudmundsson, as significant stakeholders in the Icelandic bank Landsbanki, which succumbed to financial challenges in October 2008. In December of the same year, he declared bankruptcy. Now, what would you do if you won a large amount of lottery money? Buy cars, mansions, or jewelry? Maybe you would invest, since we've talked about the importance of this before. Well, hear it out. In 2002, Andrew Jackson Whitaker Jr. became $114 million richer as the recipient of a multi-state Powerball lottery prize. However, like numerous other lottery winners, Whitaker's favorable turn of events didn't translate into long-lasting prosperity, dissipating within a mere few years. Reports indicated that Whitaker suffered substantial financial losses due to theft and faced a lawsuit from Caesars in Atlantic City, New Jersey. This recurring pattern of a lottery curse is a prevalent narrative among those who hit the jackpot. In many instances, it appears that a significant number of lottery winners lack the know-how to manage their newfound wealth effectively. In such scenarios, seeking financial education or guidance from individuals with more experience would likely be a prudent course of action. What can we learn from these cautionary financial tales? Overall, these real-life stories carry a similar theme: be smart with your money. It's as simple as that. And before you go, take a moment to ponder. How might a more profound understanding of financial management change the outcome of your path?